Am I the a-hole for shouting at a teacher? After she took my CIs in class? Before getting into this, a little background information is needed. I, 17 male, was born deaf to a hearing family. My family and I sign at home, but I need to speak while at school, as the high school I go to isn't the most accessible or disability-friendly. When I was 9, my parents paid for me to get a surgery to receive cochlear implants, CIs, which I only really use when at school or out with my hearing friends that don't sign. I attend a mainstream school, and as I stated, it isn't disability-friendly. Now, on to the situation at hand. Yesterday, I was wearing a beanie in class. Now, usually that wouldn't be a problem when it is my normal teacher, but yesterday we had a sub. The beanie I was wearing was covering the transmitter of my CI, while the part that hooks onto my ear was noticeable. I know that there are quite a lot of kids that tend to get into trouble because they'd wear AirPods or whatever devices people use nowadays for music that aren't headphones, mainly because those aren't allowed in classes. Usually, my teachers are aware of my CI and know that it, in fact, is not a music device, so I never have any trouble, but this was a sub-teacher. She wasn't aware of my CIs at first. Keep in mind that, at first, while doing some assignments, this sub, who we'll call Mrs. K, came up to my desk. I don't know what exactly she thought my CIs were, but she didn't like them. Originally, she questioned me and told me to remove them immediately, or she'd have to write me up. I explained to her, made her very aware that what I was wearing were for me to hear her, and even took off my beanie to show her. She pretty much called bullshit and attempted to take my CIs off. This was an absolute no-no. I, on instinct, slapped her hands away and stood up before starting to lecture her, telling her she has no right to try and take my CIs. After this little stir, I sat back down, thinking that the situation was most likely over. I was wrong. A little bit afterwards, she came up from behind me and literally snatched my CIs from off my head. After this, I got up yet again and started full-on yelling at this lady, telling her that she is not allowed to take assistive devices and threatened to report her. I know in this situation, me getting physically wasn't the right response, but I was scared as hell that she'd break them, so I grabbed her hands and tried to get my CIs back, which I didn't. Of course, after that she called the principal in, and me having no clue what the hell was being said, I just straight up told the principal that she took my CIs and isn't giving them back. In the end, I got my CIs back, but obviously due to me putting my hands on a staff member, I got suspended, and my principal said I was in the wrong for the situation. My dad is threatening to report this sub-teacher to the administration. So, am I the asshole? Small update. Okay. So I've been trying to read all the comments, but there has been a lot, so bear with me, please. I also haven't been focused on replying to comments as much as I've been focused on reading them, so I will start replying to comments. This update isn't necessarily on what my parents plan on doing, as I haven't figured that out yet, so this will most likely be a short update. First off, I've seen some people talk about how this is a brand new account with no previous history. The reason for that is because this isn't my main account. I made this one for this post so that I could keep myself anonymous, as my friends and some outer family know of my actual account. It's kind of a I don't want this to be traced back to me thing. Second, I've seen a lot of people asking for my school name and where I live. I will say right now that that will be a no. For my own safety, and also as a minor, sharing that kind of information scares me and might even put me at risk. I don't know. But also, as I said above, I want to keep myself anonymous. That being for my own safety and my family's safety. Third, a couple comments mentioned how I'm probably bigger and stronger than the subs, so I was most likely perceived as intimidating. This topic actually made me think about that, so for a little information on that. I'm 5'9" and I do in fact work out, so I do understand where some people are coming from when they say I might be intimidating to the sub. Though this information probably doesn't mean much, there you go. Next, my main purpose for posting this was to get some advice as to what I should do more than if I was the asshole. In some areas of the situation, I do see that I was in the wrong, while some other areas I don't think I was wrong. But sometimes your mind can play tricks on you and make you think you did too much. One thing I do know about this whole thing is that my parents are going to be confronting the administration and report the teacher. And from my parents reading your comments, the principal as well, also they're going to try and get my suspension removed from my record. I also know that my parents are done with me going to a mainstream school because, believe it or not, I've dealt with plenty of similar situations like this with students rather than teachers, and my parents are pretty sick of it, me as well. So they want me to go to a deaf high school, whether all this hopefully won't be a problem. But the issue with that is that there isn't a deaf school in the area I live, so they're wanting to move. Though with the economy we live in, I don't know how well that will work out. If you have any questions, please let me know. This update was longer than I anticipated, even though it isn't necessarily an update, but rather a quick informative thing about some things I've been seeing in the comments. I'll make sure to give an actual update once I find out what my parents plan on doing regarding lawsuits and all that.